Welcome back, or if you're new to my channel, this is Automotive Anonymous, and I do car reviews. I usually upload a few times a week to show you cool stuff and to help you decide what's worth your time and money. Today we're doing another comparison video, a 2023 Subaru Forester and a 2023 Crosstrek Limited. We're gonna find out which one might be right for you if you're shopping Subaru. First of all, I borrowed this Limited Crosstrek and this Touring Forester from Twin Falls Subaru, so I'll link them below. Check them out, they're great people to work with. And on to the review. We're gonna do a walk around, go through the specs, the similarities and the differences, and all the ins and the outs. If you want to see driving impressions, I've done most of the trim levels of the Forester and the Crosstrek for 2023, so you can find probably exactly what you're looking for if you search the channel. These Subaru Japanese built all-wheel drive SUVs really share a lot in common. They're both safety pick pluses. Being the Limited Crosstrek, they both have very bright LED headlights. I have the same on my Outback Wilderness and they're fantastic. You both get dual eyesight cameras, blind spot monitoring, turn signal alerts, reverse automatic braking, adaptive cruise control, lane keep assist. You really have a lot of safety features on these, both active and passive, to help you and your family avoid accidents or incidences. Both of these have Subaru's symmetrical all-wheel drive, which I honestly think is quite a bit better than a lot of the competition's front-wheel drive bias systems. 8.7 inches of ground clearance, but if you're going Forester Wilderness, you're up to about 9.2, or if you're gonna get a Crosstrek Wilderness that was just announced, you could get about 9.3. So they're very adequate for what they are. They have a decent approach and a part triangle, but nothing like a Jeep or a 4Runner. You're not gonna be doing any crazy trails or crazy off-roading, but you can easily get to the campsite and car camp and do things of that nature. In these, they do both have Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, which is a fantastic system and is usually better than the manufacturer's infotainment system. They have all-season tires, a CVT, and the way that these are configured, they both have the 2.5 liter Boxer. I'll show you under the hood soon. But the base engine in the Crosstrek is the little 2 liter. Meanwhile, the only engine you can get in the Forester is the 182 horse 2.5 Boxer. It's time to start differentiating these with some of the differences and their characteristics, because they are not the same. They might appeal to different people. And any opinions or biases, I'll try to keep to a minimum, but I owned a Crosstrek for 2 years and 40,000 miles. It was a fantastic vehicle, but so is the Forester. A base Crosstrek starts about 24,000, whereas a base Forester starts at about 26.5, so it's 2,500 more. And the Crosstrek outsells it. Last year for 2022, they actually sold 155,000 in the United States. Meanwhile, the Forester sold 114,000, which is down from the year before when it actually sold a very comparable 154,000. This is the last year of the second generation of the Crosstrek that started in 2018. We know 2024 is gonna have a third generation surface. A lot of it is honestly gonna be the same, and you guys have to decide, are you gonna buy one of the refined second gens that's had all the kinks worked out over the last several years, or are you gonna be one of the early adopters of the new generation, which will be cool to own one of those. They'll stand out, but also new model generations sometimes have a few kinks to work out and a few recalls that come with that. Meanwhile, the Forester came out 2019 for this 5th generation. It had a refresh in 2022, a slightly upgraded front end. It looks very aggressive for what a Forester is, and it's a great platform. Both of these Subarus handled the road really well. The Crosstrek weighs 3,100 to 3,300 pounds depending on configuration, so it's pretty nimble on the road, but it does hold its own quite well. The Forester weighs about 3,450 pounds up to 3,600 pounds depending on its options. So they both do a pretty good job, but neither of them feel heavy. They do feel pretty light on their feet. In fact, their turning circles are identical at 35.4 feet for a full circle. How well these are gonna fit in your garage or parking space is actually gonna be pretty comparable too. The Crosstrek is just barely under 15 feet long, 5.3 feet tall, and under 6 feet wide, just by a hair. Meanwhile, the Forester is 15 feet long, 6 full feet wide, and 5.5 feet tall. So the rectangleness is not that much greater on the Forester, and they're about the same length. They both share the same wheelbase at 8.75 feet, or just under 9 feet for the wheelbase. The payload capacity, or basically how much stuff can you carry in the Crosstrek, is about 11 to 1,200 pounds, whereas on the Forester it's a little bit more. It's about 1,270 up to 1,400 depending on configuration. If you've made it this far, thank you guys. I know it's been a windy day. We're about to hop out of the wind and into the vehicles, but I want to point out one more thing. You have the PIN code on both of these vehicles. I have a video on how to set that. That allows you to get in and out of the vehicle without having to have the keys on you. So if you forget the keys, but you just need to grab something out of the car, it's a really convenient feature. My video shows you how to set that and a few other cool items you can do. Both of these have the proximity key, which means you can pay for the My Subaru app, get remote start, and the proximity key means you can lock it right there or unlock it and get inside. Looking inside the Crosstrek, the door panel looks very Subaru, very familiar. If you're used to the current generation, you have nice orange stitching, nice large grab handle, carbon fiber theme around the handle, and a bottle holder, some snacks. Nothing on the door sill, no baby size Subaru even like you get on some of the other ones. Really nice floor mats. You have the gas door release right there, the hood release, fuse box. Those are the options that this one has. And then you have nice leather seats that take you up to the moonroof. It's not huge, but it's enough to let a little bit more natural light in and some ventilation, and it's darkly tinted, so it won't get too hot in here. But if it does, it's when you close the sunshade. Same proximity key features on the Forester. Remember, this is the Touring. It's a little bit more expensive than the Limited Crosstrek, so materials and options are gonna be a little bit more abundant, a little bit nicer. Nice giant door handle, door card, lunar moon landing surface instead of the carbon fiber theme, but you do get memory seats and Harman Kardon speakers. Bottle holder, a lot of snacks, baby size Subaru. All other mats rather than the cloth ones that the other Crosstrek has optioned. Rubberized pedals, hood release, fuse box, a few more options you can look at right there. And then really nice leather seats, they're power adjusted, and then you have a giant moonroof on the Forester. Sitting in the Crosstrek, we're gonna fire it up with the push button start. The needles do a little dance and that 2.5 Boxer roars to life. It's really comfortable in here. Visibility is fantastic. The only thing it needs is maybe some window tint. Otherwise, you have really good visibility throughout, and you can see it's pretty spacious for the size of this little hatchback compact crossover class. The wheel is leather wrapped. It's not heated on the Crosstrek like it is on the Forester, but you still get the same paddle shifters for the simulated gears of the CVT. Audio and voice controls on the left. Your info through the miniature paddles, and the adaptive cruise control features on the right of the wheel with sport mode or intelligent mode for economy. It helps with the CVT tuning. Otherwise, you have more info up here with the second screen. I really like this display on the Crosstrek because you're not fully dependent on the giant touchscreen that's in some of the other Subarus and what's coming to the Crosstrek for next year. You still have a CD player, physical buttons, physical HVAC settings and air conditioning, and a 12-volt, couple USBs, aux, rubber-lined pocket, and then you can drop it down to manual mode if you want it to stay in those simulated gears, and you get full control. Otherwise, X mode, heated seats, cup holders, a manual e-brake rather than the electronic parking brake, which is pretty cool, and then a nice stitched center console. That's decently sized with a 12-volt and a couple USBs. Up top, nothing on the mirror, no home link system, no sunglass holder, but you do get the controls and your lighting for that power moonroof. Sitting in the Forester, it's really comfortable. It's very similar. You have the push button start, you have the leather wrapped wheel, although it does have the heated features in this. Door panel comfort is fantastic. Same as the center armrest on the console. And everything is right where you need it to be. You still have the paddle shifters for the CVT, you have sport and intelligent mode. You have the same mini paddles down here for the center display. And then you have a touchscreen, but it's not all inclusive to everything that operates the vehicle, because you still have the physical buttons for HVAC, and then 12-volt, USB, aux. You can still drop it down into manual mode if you want to have a little bit more control over the CVT. You still have a CD player. Piano black. Basically, everywhere you look, it looks really nice on this trim. And then you have 2-stage X mode, electronic parking brake rather than the handle in the Crosstrek, auto vehicle hold, heated seats. No front-facing camera like if it was the Forester Wilderness though. Couple cup holders, a little place for your notepad if you have one of those. 12-volt in the center console, and it's pretty nice. And then up top, because this is a loaded Forester, you have HomeLink, auto-dimming mirrors. You'd have the compass when the car is turned on, and then you have the sunshade, moonroof slide. The sunshade though is manual, so you do have to reach back a little bit to get to it. Otherwise, it's really nice. Visibility is fantastic in here. It's better than the Crosstrek. Those windows are just a little bit taller so you can really see pretty far out of it. Look at the view that you'll have if you're sitting behind the seat of the Forester. The seats are comfortable, they're well bolstered, so a lot of people are really going to enjoy them. And I think they're both fantastic, whichever one you sit in. Just go test them out for yourself, see what works for you. The back seat of the Crosstrek looks very similar to the front. You have everything that you need and a good sized bottle and some snacks right there. Nothing on the door sill. Really nice 40-60 split seats that drop with the pull of the tab, and then they're almost flat. There's a little bit of a lip, so you might need to have an accommodating mattress if you do car camp back here. Otherwise, at 5'11", sitting behind myself, for being the size that the Crosstrek is, I have a whole lot of room. These seats don't recline like you'll see the Forester can, but you still have a lot of room. You just don't get to be a backseat driver because there's no map pocket back here. You also don't get anything on the back of the center console, but you do get a nice 2-cup holder armrest that's pretty sturdy. And then if you look around at your surroundings, you're gonna have a pretty good time in the back seat of the Crosstrek. The back seat of the Forester looks really good. The door panel is fantastic. Follows the same theme as the front. You have a little bit bigger pocket than you do on the Crosstrek. With the seats down, it's the same 40-60 split, but it does seem to lay a little bit flatter, but not perfectly flat. They're easy to throw up, they're not very heavy. And then you have really nice leather back here. So sitting behind yourself at 5'11", I have about the same amount of room that you just saw in the Crosstrek. I have a good double stage map pocket with the pamphlets I pick up wherever I'm going. I have ventilation, heated seats, USBs, and then the strap down here to recline the seat is pretty handy. You probably get 7 or 8 more degrees, which really can help you relax with a little bit of a recline. Double stage cup holders, so 2 for you or 1 for you and the passenger if there's another person back here. You have a light just above your head, and then a fantastic view with a lot of natural light because the Forester does fantastic in that department. Both of these are very spacious for their size, although the Forester you're about to see is going to win that competition because the Crosstrek with the seats up is about 21 cubic feet. If you drop them, it's about 55 cubic feet. Whereas the Forester is 29 with the seats up, and that's including having a Harman Kardon subwoofer back here. And then if you drop the seats, say you use the handle, it's actually up to 74 cubic feet, so you get 19 more cubic feet in the Forester than in the Crosstrek. Both the Crosstrek and the Forester have a temporary spare tire that's under the floor mat in the back with the tools up top. Not a whole lot of extra room on the Crosstrek compared to the Forester that actually does have a little bit of extra cargo capacity down here for whatever else you want to hide. And you can fit the privacy shade from there right there if you want. And then the tire is just under the styrofoam with its tools. The Forester can lock and lower with the power liftgate, whereas the Crosstrek can't do either on this model. You just have to throw it down manually. Good thing it's not very heavy. Both of these tow 1,500 pounds if you have the tow package, but if you opt for the Forester Wilderness Edition that has a different final drive ratio, that one can actually tow 3,000 pounds. MPG figures are too close to call. The Crosstrek and the Forester both have it on the passenger side. They each have a 16.6 gallon tank. So the Crosstrek rated at 28 city, the Forester 26 city, and both about 33-ish on the highway. It means you're good for 550-mile road trips. Under the hood, these engines are basically exactly identical, except that the Forester includes an engine cover on top. But I'll show you the Crosstrek because that's what it looks like. It's a 2.5 liter. Everything is straightforward. There's a lot of room. It's easy to work on. And it makes 182 horse and about 176 pound-feet of torque, which in a package this size is adequate. I wouldn't recommend the 2 liter if you live at altitude, if you are ever going to tow or you're going to drive with your family or the vehicle weighted down. It's just not enough power. Ask me how I know. I have to pass farm equipment, semis, tractors, all that stuff all the time on my commute where I live. And one of the reasons I upgraded, again, was because the power plant just wasn't sufficient for my needs and my preferences. But this 2.5 does really good. In my 0 to 60 testing, if you look at any of my other videos, it's usually a couple seconds faster than the 0 to 60 in the 2 liter. Not the 1 second that's claimed because of altitude, other factors influence engine performance. And it holds true, it holds its own quite a bit better. The Forester has the same power plant, but remember, this weighs 300 to 500 or 600 pounds more, so it is going to be a bit slower than an equivalently powered Crosstrek. It still does okay, But if you live in the mountains, if you tow again, you might want to consider a turbo Ascent, maybe an Outback, maybe something else. If you live at sea level, if you don't tow, if you don't need the extra power, this is fantastic. And if you're unfamiliar with looking under the hood of cars, they're both beautifully engineered in that they're simple, straightforward layouts. Serpentine belt on the front, alternator dipstick, all the reservoirs, top mount oil filter, and oil fill. It's all easy to get to, it's easy to work on, and there's a lot of room under the hood of either. Overall, if you guys want to buy either of these, you really can't go wrong. They're both fantastic rides, but they do have a few pros and cons depending on which one you go with. The Crosstrek, for instance, is a little bit more affordable. You skip some of those extra features, but you still get a lot of the basic safety features, which a lot of you probably care about if you're shopping Subaru. Symmetrical all-wheel drive, almost 9 inches of ground clearance. It really does a fantastic job, and then potentially better MPG in the city and a slightly smaller package for parking. Whereas the Forester, you have a slightly better driving position because it's a little bit more upright, a little bit more SUV-like, because the Crosstrek comes from the Impreza, which it's basically a lifted version. The Forester is its own body style. Has a superior moonroof, slightly better visibility, and it has a lot to offer for its compact size. Having 74 cubic feet of storage behind the driver in the shotgun seat is honestly really impressive. I owned a Crosstrek Premium for 2 years and 40,000 miles, as I mentioned, and it was a fantastic experience. And then I went to an Outback Wilderness with the Turbo for the last year and a half, which I love. It's basically the bigger, more adult, more mature version of the Crosstrek, which the Forester is a very similar package. If it had a turbo, I would honestly probably drive one of these. They're just compact, they're nice, they're smooth. They feel really good, and a lot of people prefer them, but their sales numbers have dipped down in the last year as Crosstrek numbers have come up, as Outback numbers have come up, and a lot of the competition sells an equally amount of units as the Subaru. So there is a lot of good other offerings out there. But comment below, tell me what you're thinking. What are you comparing it to? I do recommend you drive them for yourself. Decide what feels right for you, what matches your price point, and what works for your family, if you have one. If not, you're gonna have a lot of storage, a lot of space if it's just you hanging out in the vehicle. If you guys like my style, please consider liking, commenting, and subscribing. There's new stuff that comes out weekly, and I have a lot of other reviews for you guys to check out if you're interested. Otherwise, have a fantastic rest of your week, and take care.